I really would like to thank the organizers and the overall Irish ecosystem to which VALEO is very attached, and you will see why. We are a fierce tier 1 based here since I would say now more than 11 years in Tuam, north of Galway. And at least it makes us a tier 1 automotive presence industrially and also by its own R&D. So I guess I can get started. I see that everybody is back. At the same time, I co-lead, I am the chef de file for the suppliers at the official European platform on automotive sector, and hence I will start to present for the ones that are not familiar, but I've seen that a booth was there with our roadmaps. What is ERTRAC? ERTRAC, the specificity is a multi-stakeholder approach where you have member states, European Commission, OEMs, suppliers, research providers, universities, but also indirectly related other sectors such as the energy and fuel suppliers, the road infrastructures, intelligent transport systems, service providers, and also the users. That means that everything we decide, we do it all together with the member states and the Commission. So it is really a very shared, I would say, kind of work. And it's quite unique. You don't have that in any other big regions of the world, because you have either things that are separate, that are governmental, others that are private, and then you don't have different sectors talking together. And as you know here, since the conference is very much on what is connected, electric, and autonomous, it's very important to have on board the energy people, the telecom people, the infrastructure people. And our first role is to design roadmaps. And it's also to have clearly a vision, what should be the vision for us in the years to come, in order to make sure that we don't make mistakes on what will be the deliverable in the decades before we reach what would be our vision here in 2050. So clearly, we in 2050 in the world will be more and more urbanized. Environmental sustainability will be a must, and we absolutely need to ensure an efficient and resilient road transport system overall. And connectivity and automation will be indeed an enabler for improved mobility, and safety and security are a must, exactly like what my predecessor from Volvo was saying. And we do believe that we want to build and participate to make this continent still a world leader, cooperating and in cooperation and competition with other regions of the world, but still we want to keep a certain leadership in innovation, production, and services. And of course, environmental sustainability is our first must, and this goes with our roadmap on decarbonisation and air quality. So electrification will be clearly very much developed with, I would say, new battery and convenient charging and second life and recycling production. As you know, we are really right now in the period where in Europe we want to build an industrial footprint for battery. I think in the last years we left this too much to Asian players, but there is a clear willingness to catch up. I won't enter too much into the details here, but you will keep the slides. But this is absolutely needed. Provide perfect protection, safety and security. I don't need here to say how much, whether there is still some resistance to autonomous driving, that anyway, despite the few accidents that surely we will encounter, and we need to prepare ourselves and our public opinion to some test injuries and whatsoever. But if we compare that to what an organization like FIA shows in terms of injuries and fatalities worldwide, and particularly if you take some countries that are the worst in the world, like Vietnam, where the two-wheelers are causing so many accidents on the road, clearly autonomous driving will eradicate a huge percentage of those fatalities and injuries. So indeed, we will work for challenges in the next decade to have a smoother interaction between all road users and not just cars, but also other types of vehicles and the pedestrians. So indeed, connectivity and automation will be an enabler for an improved mobility, and this is what has been completely approved. This roadmap is the official roadmap shared by all OEMs, all suppliers, the Commission, and the research government of 28 states of the European Union. And we are working on fully multimodal mobility, connectivity everywhere, communication between vehicles and infrastructure, mobility as a service. As you know, it's already clearly a new, huge business, predicted demand from individual behaviors, digital technology for vehicle access regulation and with fee payments and prioritization, data privacy and international standards. That's also, we need to improve what was not improved before, where you had so many different region specificities for the vehicles. When we're working in terms of autonomy, we really want to have a much better worldly standardization process. And the highly automated vehicles should also include vulnerable users and people with reduced mobility. And this is also a huge step to build societies way much more inclusive. And honestly, it's something that I care personally, since in my perimeter for VALEO, I handle the overall operational sustainability, whether it is supply chain, social, environmental. Accidents and delays will be extremely rare. This is what I was saying also just a couple of minutes before. Harmonized legal frameworks for automated vehicle. As you know, for the moment, it's the chicken and egg issue, but as you know, as technologists, we move much forward, so we are a bit asking a higher pace, a more accelerated pace from the regulatory side, and also to, I would say, the whole network of lawyers, jurisdiction, ISOs, and insurance people that are really understanding that this will be something that they need to work on and quite quick, because from the technology and OEM and supplier and research provider, we are moving very fast. And indeed, the challenge will be the deployment in a mixed traffic on the next decade, because you will have partial automated vehicles. You won't have the level 5 everywhere. So it will be different mixes of parts of progressive automation that will be displayed all over the roads in different kind of infrastructure, different type also of level of advance of roads. So indeed, we need to keep the improved safety and also efficiency. And here, when I meant before Europe as one of the key leaders in the regions of the world in terms of innovation, production, and services, is really an overall ecosystem of development, manufacturing, market success, implication and output for the society. It starts with education. I think it's very important to mention it today and here in a country that has become and is already becoming a country that wants to believe in its own youth and its own technology potential. Ireland was not in the map of automotive research 20 years ago. It's becoming, thanks to companies like us, to some of our customers that are just decided to come here, but also because you have very good research ecosystem, such as in the health, in the insurance, in the software, in the banking, and overall, the winning situation won't be just the old scheme of having manufacturing, supplier, universities, research providers. You need to expand, and where solutions will come from artificial intelligence, from cloud, from software research that are not necessarily historically, I would say, only linked to automotive. And for sure, this will create new services for people and goods, you will see further on my corporate presentation that we have been launching, projecting ourselves into businesses we couldn't think 10 years ago, and you have examples like everywhere. So this is also part of the roadmap, and this creates amazing new potential for GDP. Transport is always something that is not seen in the core of the picture by economists, but without mobility and without transport, you just can't live. And when you think that in China already, which is the first worldwide market, mobility is actually the only ersatz of democracy that the regime gives. This is why you need to have a sustainable mobility program, because otherwise, a country with 1.4 billion people can't provide mobility with the old schemes, with polluting vehicles, and so on and so forth. And after China will be all the ASEAN countries, plus India, plus all the other emerging markets. And indeed, mobility is the first concept of freedom that, no matter if you're in a democratic or less democratic environment, it's something that is a real given. And as I was saying, excellence in education, cross-sectoral collaboration, I mentioned that. Energy and efficient sustainable production in Europe. This has to deal with the battery side. A European network for customers-oriented services. At the Commission, one of the wills, for example, of Commissioner Bulc, the Slovenian Commissioner for Transport, is to have one app that can book you a ticket from public transportation, then private parking, an airplane ticket, a train connection. Well, we are far from that, but it's still a goal, and we need to try to reach that goal. Methods and processes to accelerate the innovation process. Indeed, it's what we call in our European projects, because this is a roadmap, but related to ERTRAC, we give the pieces of advice to the European Commission to deliver I would say, the valid projects that Europe needs in terms of collaborative research. And indeed, these are accelerators of R&D, and these are accelerators of methods and process in order to keep ourselves, the whole continent, even amongst competitors and amongst customers and suppliers, in the forefront, in order that we train ourselves through these collaborative projects to get this competitiveness and this pace in terms of methods and processes in R&D. And develop new skills and competence needed for the future, for sure. As you know, our sector, and it's already the case in this country, it's dramatic in France, in Germany, in Spain, everywhere, there is a huge lack of very different types of engineers, particularly in what the digitalization is requiring in terms of new jobs. Software specialists are demanded everywhere, and so we need, in the management of our companies, to be very well aware of what will be the needs of the future, and we need to work and to give the valid pieces of advice to our governments or the European Commission to what will be needed in terms of people. Now I switch to VALEO. I will be very quick in what are some corporate, and then move forward towards autonomy and connectivity. Yes, we're in tune, but I'm pleased to say that the boss of VALEO Ireland was born here in Killarney. And he sent me an email to say, say hello to the city, although he's keeps busy in Tuam, north of Galway. So, you know, it's a nice story of us here. We were 70 people when we acquired Connaught Electronics, and now there are more than 1,000. So, you see, in more than 10 years, we are quite an accelerating company in this country. And we're also very big. You see here our figures. We are a worldwide company with nearly 20 billion euro revenues. And when you look at the level of order intake, it's quite massive, and the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, also speaks by itself. You will see that we will become bigger and bigger. We're also very balanced. We're certainly seen as the French supplier, but we're not so French. Look at the first group of customers. They're Asians, then come the German, the French are number 4, and we're also a huge American supplier. And saying that to Irish also audience, it's something that makes us quite friendly. And then, you know, there are the customers here, but I was talking about mobility and services. Yes, we are providing to all types of customers, but there are also new customers that are not just OEMs with, I would say, their traditional classic business model. There are new players where behind there are OEMs such as Lyft, but we're already talking and working with the Googles, if I take the American example, but if I want to be Chinese, I will talk about Didi. We are working already with Uber. These people will have such power on requiring prerequisites on fleets that the suppliers will become more and more unavoidable in terms of technology content. So we are very ready to work in the business model of mobility as a service. These are our business group here. We do cameras, as you know, and I know my colleagues have done a great job, apparently, from what I've heard, in making the demonstration with VALEO Vision. But we're also big in visibility systems, in lighting and wiping, in thermal systems, whether it is motor, thermal, or climate control, and also in connectivity, which is also part, together with Vision here in Ireland, on the comfort and driving systems. And last but not least, powertrain systems, where we are, as you know as well, the inventor of the stop-start technology, and we were the first to believe very much into hybrid systems beyond just full electrification. So we are very keen in keeping our leadership. We accept to be either number 1 or number 2 worldwide player. And indeed, CO2 emission reduction and intuitive driving is the first strategy priority, together with a development in higher growth potential regions, with the ambition to be always higher than the market. So we work with solutions towards the automated car, with laser scanner, valet parking, where, as you know, we are one of the worldwide leader, but also in connected car, with telematic control unit, with passive entry, and also in what we believe this is very much our brand of marketing, in what we call intuitivity, with intuitive controls, displays, dome controls, modules. We worked, for example, together with another aeronautic supplier to make an intuitive cockpit, whether it is for a plane or a car. And we're not just a supplier to cars. We also supply with other systems, the truck, the bus industry, and when we talk about Electronomous, or electric and autonomy, also the new, I would say, portfolio of autonomous and electric shuttle, which will be also little urban buses of the future. So indeed, we are at the heart of the 3 revolution of automotive industry. And when I received many months ago the title of Electronomous, I said, actually, it very much makes sense to be present, because I would say the only thing that you can't have in just one word like Electronomous is that you don't have the shared. But we are ready to challenge what will be the industry of mobility of the future, that is to say, towards E for electric, autonomous, and shared vehicles, here, cars. Indeed, it is a challenge. I see it at ERTRAC. I face it every time with DG Environment, and believe me, it's not so easy to be in our sector when, as you know, the industry, certain players, I will say it in a diplomatic way, have not so well behaved in what they were declaring in terms of emissions. And cities are becoming extremely influential regulators in the future of mobility. So the solution should be also very well understood by these kind of stakeholders. And at Valeo, we take them very, very seriously. This is why we also created an amazing portfolio dedicated to electrification. We are covering both low and high voltage, which will make us, when you see with our joint venture with Siemens, where we will become the worldwide leader in high voltage. That means that we will really supply all medium-high range of vehicles for their electric powertrain. So indeed, we want to take the leadership in the electrification. And when you see just the order intake, just of this piece, is just 10 billion just on the portfolio of one product. And we are delivering already elsewhere in the world. I'm just back from Beijing, where we were displaying this little car. And when, 10 years ago, people were saying, electrical vehicles, yes, but it's a luxury. It's what we say in French, bourgeois bohème, bobo. No, we were able to show to the Chinese that we're able to give you, it's not that I'm saying that Valeo wants to become an OEM, but we made it as a project, and this car cost 7,000 euros. So we are also suppliers historically to an OEM like Tata. What we regretted is that the €1 clutch that we sold to them was not duplicated, like they say, with the Nano, when the Tata family said, we're going to sell millions of the Nano in India, and actually Indian society, medium class, wanted to have a much bigger and stronger car. But we are able to deliver ultra low cost, but with very valid technology supply, as much as we're able to prove to the people that electric vehicle and electric mobility can be affordable. Autonomous, this is our, I would say, vision of the acceleration of the autonomy. We started from the sensors. That's where is our DNA, where we are recognized to be very, very good in the, I would say, level playing field. Then we started with fusion controllers, sensor fusion, environmental map models, and when we put all together what we have been able to build with camera, radar, and LiDAR, where we are all worldwide leader, well, we can have the systems that can provide the level 5. And then what is at the end is a driving policy, and with continuous improvement of artificial and intelligence coming from also the cloud and what is being brought. So here you see all the portfolio that we are now having in broader sensors here in our portfolio in the automotive system, from rain sensors to fusion controller with laser scanner, where we are indeed the #1 worldwide in serial production. And you absolutely see that without a laser scanner, you can't really deliver the beginning of autonomy. And this is very, very clear. And this has been one of our biggest projects, what we call the Valeo Scala, where you have seen that we have several levels of generation, from just a rotating mirror, to triple vertical field view, to further increase vertical view and resolution. So this is really our pride. But also digital mobility. Technology is indeed extremely important to integrate also other players with other mobility as a service solutions, thanks to the cloud, thanks to the telecom, thanks to interaction with public transportation. So what we understand, and we do our marketing clinics, is that we want to bring convenience and time cost saving to the mobility user. So sometimes we're also discussing with OEMs and other industrial players that we need to focus on really what is the societal deliverable and not just the technology solution where engineers want to be happy and to make themselves happy with their research. It really needs to be testified by what the customer and the citizen wants. And indeed, we are moving, and this is why also public sector is very much interested in working with tier ones like us, because cities are switching from capital expenditure investments. Remember what costs a new line, a train line, a public service, to outsource service for mobility. As you know, the Uber and the Didi of the future won't be just personal transportation, it would be buses on demand when connectivity would be largely shared. Well, this is a huge reduction of cost to, pay a driver, invest in new buses, dedicated lines, and respect schedules if you can deploy a system on demand. So this is why, from the car parking experience, we have developing Cyber Valet. Now we have a technology ready that makes your vehicle park by itself, go even on beneath -6, -7 level of a parking, and then you order your car while you're finishing your meeting or your dinner in a restaurant, and the car self-drives, gets out of the parking, switches on, and is waiting for you on a level. Well, what is the impact for the city? Well, is that you need less and less surface parking. And the other thing is that if you're able to secure your parking, it means that the 80% of the parking that are all private can be shared. And this is a huge level of reduction of congestion, because in cities, 30% of the congestion in traffic is due to vehicles that are looking for a parking spot. So you see how a technology solution on, I would say, a sort of indirect chain bring a very positive and concrete example of better solutions for mobility. Robot taxi solutions, fleet management services, and, as I quoted before, autonomous shuttle. And when I mean that, I'm from the corporate, and what I also want to insist is that, yes, there is a way of showing here, like it was these 2 days, on technology. But it is also a capitalistic challenge, where companies like ours are taking risks, and they relieve the challenge in inviting themselves in capitalistic funds. We're not in the Silicon Valley, and we don't have the financial power such as what's happening in California, but still, we are in some ecosystem with our partners wherever in the world to bring our little piece of contribution and take the benefit of what these licorn startups are bringing. So we do believe that we are well positioned in the 3 revolutions that are impacting our sector, and our business groups are being fueled by more connectivity, more automation, more intuitivity, with all the results that you see here. Research and development, we dedicate almost 12-13% of our R&D, of our revenue in R&D, so it tells you how much we believe in research and innovation. And by far, we are the #1 French company, all economic sectors put together, as first patent depository in our country, and we are in the top 20 in Europe. We are just launched the first global research center in artificial intelligence, and we do believe that AI will bring really some accelerating effect. And here again, our driving assistance portfolio, thanks to AI and this innovative systems, not just automated driving, parking, and protection, but also other things. And last but not least, electronic solutions for connected cars. Indeed, we are working to build also a complete ecosystems with infrastructure, with telephones, telecom players, and to access and remote control product line. And also our telematics product line are helping for this. So I stop here, and I thank you for your attention.